Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in today. So today I'm going to actually have a follow-up video to my previous video on what happens at the moment of death. So when you get to the Vaitarani River, okay, as I experience this at the moment of enlightenment and through experiences of my practice of yoga. Okay, so what happens when you get to the Vaitarani River? We've talked about how there's the river, how different streams or of different cultures of humanity. So different cultures, so you have basically different lines, so you have a line of all the people passing away from Hinduism walking towards the river. Same thing for Buddhism, same thing for Sikhism, etc., etc. Emerging from the trees, right? Because there's a forest, and you emerge from the trees, and then you get basically to the signpost, and then basically from there you get to the river, and from the river, people are doing different things. So you have some cultures that are jumping into the river, but the river is the river of chaos, and everyone's being dissolved. At that point, they're getting judged and going into that cycle of reincarnation, right? Then you have people that are deciding to take the bridge that exists over the river, except it's a little bit concerning for some people because there's two beings guarding the bridge, and these happen to be an archangel, an angel in disguise, right? The archangel of death and the angel in disguise. And they basically warn whoever takes the bridge that they will be judged by someone who, if they take the bridge, they submit themselves to judgment. So a lot of people, they think, I'm not going to take that risk of putting myself to judgment, so they don't take the bridge, and they think that they can by themselves cross the river. So for example, they might go back to the forest, take the trees, use cities that they can develop special abilities. For example, if they're a yogi, and basically construct a boat, reinforce it with abilities, cities, cross the river, get to the other side, realize there's nothing on the other side. It's a barren landscape. The only way to eternal life was through God, through the bridge. They realized that they were already being judged when they got to that realm, and basically failed that test there. And then hopefully they get called back by people doing Bhairava sadhana practice, and calling back the people that are on the other side of the river so they can come back. Okay, now we have some people who turn around and try to go back into the woods, right? But they always emerge back, to the river, to the signpost, right? Eventually. And then we have some people that are allowed and granted the ability to bounce back into life, so to come alive again after having passed away. But we call it bouncing back from the Vaitarani River, okay? And these people here, they're allowed to come back, and they don't remember the path that they took, but they know that they were allowed to come back. And from there, they come back so that they can tell the truth about these things as they come back into life, so that the truth and knowledge can be disseminated to everybody and confirmed when other people come to talk about it. Okay? But now what you also have is, on YouTube, there's an experience of someone, I believe it was a monk who passed away and came back to life, when they were about when they were doing his funeral rites. I listened to that story, and a lot of the elements make a lot of sense, including the signpost, okay? The river, he talks about a river and all these different elements, okay? And the truth, and he mentions that he saw some people in the river, right? Some spiritual masters, and the truth is that you cannot have eternal life without God. And yogis are particularly difficult to remind these things about, because they think sometimes that they can achieve everything by themselves, and forget also, that there's also, hopefully within a healthy yoga practice, a bhakti component as well, okay? So basically you have some people going back to the woods, okay? And in the woods, when you get to the woods, you see that there's actually two paths in the woods that you can take, okay? And there's basically, like it's described by this monk who took these experiences, and I'll explain these paths. So he mentioned that, he saw two paths, right, that you could take, and one of them supposedly brought one for people who believe and one for people who don't believe, or something like that, or something along those lines, right? So one of them a wider path, the other a narrow path. So what happens is these two paths are actually traps, okay? I'll tell you exactly what they are, and they're for to judge you, basically, to see what you'll do if you'll try to basically um, you know get to a path without belief, right? Or without judgment of God. So basically, without submitting yourself to God. So basically, one of these paths leads you to a path where everybody's getting killed, basically. So you'll see people getting killed there. That's the path where you get killed on in that realm, and then basically it's the same. And then you basically get judged by God, but you get killed, you know. So you get fell into that trap right there. And then the other path is a path where you're greeted and you think that you've just arrived in heaven. You know, the path that monk described as the path with the golden walkway. And that path there, you get greeted by a being that identifies himself as an angel or something, as an angel, right, and all this, and brings you to heaven and all that. And that's actually a trap as well. And that's a different type of trap. That's a trap that pulls you in, and from that pulling you in, you know, that's the end of you into that story as well. You know, so that's another trap, because that's actually a fake heaven. Okay, so it's a fake heaven. It's not the real heaven, you know. It's a little bit like, you know that Indiana Jones where there's all those goblets. You know, he has to choose the right one. You know, the right Holy Grail, and there's all the fake ones. You know, and if you take the fake one, it means your death, right? Well, that path is the fake path to heaven, right? And it's a path where you get to heaven where you're just greeted and you don't go through any judgment. Right, and you're greeted into heaven. You're like, oh, that's amazing. No judgment, nothing. You know, that's fake. You know, you do get judged before you go to heaven, and you don't get away with that from that. Okay, so basically, those two paths that you're going to experience, that you may experience when you get to the Vaitarani River, if you turn back into the woods, you actually don't want to take any one of those paths. So you don't want to listen to what that monk said, right, and to take that other path. You know, because that other path is a fake one. It's a fake heaven. Okay, you don't want to take any of those two paths. Those two paths are traps. Okay, honeypot traps. Basically, you know, whatever option you take, you know, it's your end. So what you really want to do is you have to understand that it's all about the bridge that goes across the Vaitarani River, right? And the angels there, they might not be as ostentatious. Say, we are the angels and all this stuff. Come into the heaven. By the way, come. No. What they're saying is, oh, be warned, if you come here, you'll be judged, you know, and that's the real heaven. And that's the bridge over the Vaitarani River. That's the one you want to take, and you don't want to fall for one of the traps, because as I've explained also already, the minute you get to the realm of the Vaitarani River, which is actually located on Kailash Mountain, you know, everybody, the gods are on Kailash Mountain, right? It's the wall of the gods, Kailash Mountain. You have the female gods on one side, the male gods on the other side, but you have the wall of the gods, right? And then you have humanity, which is basically not on the mountain, right? Around, okay, at the bottom of the mountain, right? The bottom. But basically, when you pass away, you're basically brought to a certain level on the mountain by that stream that goes up the mountain, that basically goes through the Damaru of Shiva, right? That goes through the hourglass and of Bara, and that rests on the shoulder of Bara, and that's the stream. And you arrive at one level of that stream, and that's where Bara's bridge, you know, Shiva Baram's bridge, or God in any name, right? You can use all the names of God, basically apply. That's where the bridge over the Vaitarani River is. And that's where you appear, and you just have to basically, some people appear a little bit further, a little bit higher or lower, you know, on the river, and you just have to basically walk to the bridge, find the bridge, get to the bridge, cross over the bridge, go to heaven, eternal life, paradise. Okay, so don't fall in the trap of those two paths, the narrow path and the wide path in the woods, because those do exist, right? But those are two traps in the woods meant to capture you and end you there, and they're basically two paths where you think that you're going to get to eternal life without God and without submitting yourself to the judgment of God willingly, right? So now that you're knowledgeable about this, that doesn't take away the fact that you'll submit yourself willingly if you get to there, but it does hopefully increase the percentage of people who make it to heaven. So a little joke aside. All right, so thanks again for listening. Another video on this one. This video